This is Dr. Pierre Milo, narrating my book Rising from the Ashes of Loss, My Voyage Through Grief, available at Amazon.com. Post number 16. Back at the hospital, savoring my newfound privacy and lounging comfortably in a high-back chair just for a short while, I noticed the same nurse diligently enter the room with a disturbed look on her face. Not good, I thought. There had been a massive accident with multiple injuries, and they needed the room because it contained special equipment that was needed for the treatment of those people. So not only were we kicked out of the room without reverence, Louise was swiftly moved into a 4-bed area, which was definitely a downer. She was put off big time, but sympathized nevertheless with those poor people who needed urgent help. So that's what all the sirens were all about when I was coming back from the hotel, I thought. And I started to freak out as a scary thought popped into my mind. Where the heck am I going to sleep tonight? Certainly not in that cramped and noisy chamber of doom full of moaning and snoring people. There was just not enough space for me. Louise was demoralized, and I was not far behind. But my weariness was rapidly appeased when the nurse, noticing my panic look on my descended mug, came to my rescue and said that she would set me up for the night with a portable bed in the patient's courtesy room. It would be quiet in there for the night, but she explained that I'd have to rise up early and get out of there at 6 a.m. before it opened up again. Well, it was not the highlight of my day, but it would have to do since I could not check back into the hotel room. There was a convention in town and the surrounding hotels were all hooked up. So, here I went, holding sheets and pillow en route to my improvised bedroom, mumbling all the way my dissatisfaction. I set the sheets up on the cot, closed the door, put out the lights, and proceeded to lie on my bed of fortune. Let's try to imagine the ridiculous scene. I'm a 5 feet 11 tall adult, and the cot was one of those folding beds that must have been made to accommodate a small child. It was a joke. When I sat, my butt in the middle of the mattress and stretched, my feet hung out of the end of the bed by about a foot, and my head stuck out in empty space like a scary puppet. The only way I could fit in was in some kind of fetal position or on my back, bending my legs upward. Any position I tried to contort myself into was unbearable, and the night was going to be long, very long. Little did I know also that this little inconvenience was nothing compared to the heart-stopping shock that was about to scare the crap out of me. It was about 3 a.m., and after tossing and turning like a wiggling worm, I finally fell asleep and slipped into a light dream state. My reverie was short-lived, though, and I was slowly awakened by a soft, shuffling sound and became progressively aware of a presence near me. Oh. Still in a sleepy haze, I hesitantly turn around to investigate the disturbance. I just could not believe what my inquisitive eyes were seeing. With mounting trepidation, as my vision was slowly adapting to the darkness of the room, I was beginning to see the outline of a misty shadow taking shape. My skin was crawling as if an army of ants was invading my whole body, and my pounding heart was menacing to burst through my chest as the ghostly image was becoming more and more defined. Barely able to contain myself and in a panic, I clumsily tried to throw my sorry ass out of that stupid bed, but my rickety leg, numb from being contorted all the time, could not hold me, and like a sack of sand, I collapsed to the floor, ready to scream like a scared puppy. Terrorized, I could not keep myself from staring at the invader, when all of a sudden the mysterious enigma was solved. It was Louise, who, with head and shoulder covered with a white sheet, was sitting in a chair, quietly observing me sleeping. Boy, the word that came out of my mouth at that moment were not very nice, and this instance was the only time that I ever spoke to her this way. What the are you doing? I almost died of a heart attack. What the hell were you thinking, for heaven's sake? Luckily, she did not take offense to my bum rhetoric, and thinking that the whole adventure was hilarious, she almost rolled on the floor laughing. What had happened was that Louise, totally frustrated at not being able to sleep because of all the racket in that room, had covered herself up with a bed sheet to keep warm and had stormed out of the room. Out of concern for me, she had walked into the patient's lounge to see how I was doing. Later, in answer to my somewhat abrupt question, "Why the hell did you not tell me it was you?" I asked. She answered patiently, "I did not want to wake you up, honey. So I just sat there and watched you sleep, that's all." Later on, when I regained my bearings and my hands stopped shaking, I somehow managed to see the humor in the whole thing and started laughing too. If you can't laughing at yourself, who the hell can you laugh at? I will never forget that little episode. That was one from my books. Needless to say, we did not sleep much the rest of the night. Louise lying on the couch and me curled up like a pretzel on that awful contraption. Morning came. We rushed back to the room just in time to meet the oncologist, as he was doing his usual morning rounds. When he entered the room, though, before seeing Louise, he visited her neighbor's bed, just long enough to coldly mutter to her a few not so encouraging words, such as, "I'm afraid, Mrs. S., that our last effort to treat your cancer have failed, and that we cannot do anything for you anymore. We will have a talk with your husband to make the necessary arrangements." We did not wait or want to hear the sobbing sounds that were about to come out of that poor soul later on. We unfortunately could not afford to even care about that lady, as we were ourselves too caught up in our own little world of fear and dancing at the same tune. But thankfully, it was not to be, and Louise got her release. All excited and patient to leave, she listened distractedly to the usual post-op recommendation, dressed up at lightning speed, said goodbye to the nurse on duty, and we rushed out of the hospital like a couple of bats out of hell, hoping that our problems were over. Think again, Sam.